If you find what your purpose is, what your meaning is in life, you're going to get pleasure out of that and whatever comes around for that. So don't seek pleasure because that's a pitfall. It's a danger. Seek meaning and purpose in your life and the pleasure will follow.
No question. Just remember that pleasure, money, fame, adulation, being a hero, being famous, all of that is outside. Meaning comes from the inside. That's the difference. All of that is outside juice, and that juice can be taken away at any minute. All right, welcome to another episode of Chazz Palminteri,
The Wise and Michael Franzese.
The Wise Guy. Michael, so what are we going to talk about this week?
Well, again, sharing some knowledge and experience and the knowledge that we've attained on the street and also from some of the bright people that we're going to be speaking about.
Right.
And again, it's the benefit for all of you. We hope that you learn, you get something out of this, improve your lives in a certain way. And that's what this is all about.
Yeah, because some people say without knowledge, you can't have, some people say money is power, right? So what do you think? Money is power? Is knowledge power? Or like you said, you can't make money unless you have knowledge, unless you win the lotto, maybe.
Exactly.
That's about it.
My dad, money is power, Mike. He always drilled that into my head. And I thought about it. But as I got older, I realized knowledge is power because you can't achieve, a status and make money unless you have the knowledge to do it and the know-how.
And you have to have the knowledge to keep it.
Exactly.
To keep the money.
Oh, it's so important.
And
where do we get our knowledge, Chazz? Not only from our own experiences, from what we learned on the street and what we learned later on in life and business, but so many wonderful, intelligent, perspective people have written these wonderful books. And you said it once on one of the shows, if you were ever in a time machine,
right,
and you went back in time to meet the people that, you admire and that can tell you so much, well, you don't have to do that. Why?
Because the books are here.
They're there.
People don't realize that the power of books, they're here. You want to speak to Machiavelli? Go back and read The Prince. You want to speak to the Stoics? Go back and read those wonderful books. You want to learn about Marcus Aurelius and all those people? You can read Aristotle. You can read about them. All these great books of so many great writers. My God, James Joyce and Keats. Just all these great books. So there is a time machine. It's called books. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to read some of these books. We read a lot of it, and we're going to talk about them. But the unique thing about us, Michael, and I always say it, is we're going to talk about it in two perspectives. In the wise way, the sage way, and in the wise guy way. Well, we can both translate it from the street to the classroom.
And again, because I learned so many things on the street that you're never going to learn in the boardroom.
Never.
Just a whole different perspective on life. And, I've still carried those. Things that I learned 30, 40 years ago, I still carry them and apply it to my life today.
Well, yes. Well, and we can honestly say, without sounding, too conceited, that the reason why you're successful and I'm successful is where we grew up and we knew how to navigate. We knew how to, take an opportunity when it came to us. We knew how to change directions. Instead of making a left, we say, you know what? I can't keep making this left because I keep going against the wall. I got to make a right.
Exactly.
I got to stay away from these guys. We always talk about that. You want to know what your salary is going to be with the rest of your life? Look at your friends.
Exactly.
Whatever they're making, you're going to make.
Exactly.
It's very simple.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Chazz, one of the places that, believe it or not, I acquired so much knowledge and perspective was when I was in the hole. I was in lockdown.
Yeah.
And I read the book of Proverbs from the Bible. Now, take the religious aspect out of it for a moment and just remember Solomon was the king of Israel.
Right.
Very wise man. And some of the Proverbs quotes are just brilliant.
Brilliant.
And they just made me think, while I was sitting in the hole, it brought me back to, experiences that I had on the street, I can name a million of them and we'll get into it at some point in time, not today. But I acquired so much knowledge just from reading. And it gave me a different perspective when I finally got home and got out of the hole.
Right.
And I read it over and over and over again, drummed into my head. Some of the things I knew,
but
he just corroborated things that I knew on the street.
And think about it. This was written, 1,200 years ago?
Oh, more than that.
2,000? What am I saying? 2,000 years ago.
Yes.
And it's still relevant today.
Absolutely. Some things don't change.
Some things
Brilliance
don't change.
doesn't change.
And that's why this book that we're going to do right now, one of the great books.
Yeah.
It's a great book. And here's a guy, he was in the Holocaust, and he writes this book, The Meaning of Life.
From the Holocaust.
From the Holocaust. Talk about what? From the Holocaust. So tell us about the book, Michael, the one that we're going to do.
Yeah, and what we're going to do, there's so many lessons that we can learn from these brilliant introspective writers. We can't do them all. We'll be here all day.
Right.
Because between sharing their thoughts and our perspective and experiences on it, we could be there forever. So we're always going to pick maybe 2 or 3 lessons out and apply our own, experiences to them, and hopefully it'll be helpful to all of you. So.
Yeah, and I'm going to have a sip of this wine.
Give me a minute.
I happen to say it's really good. Thank you.
I think I'll do the same.
Salud.
Salute.
As they say, one time I was with these wise guys, right? We're all sitting around. Wise guys. Some of them, one was a real wise guy, the rest were wannabes. And I'm sitting around, and I said, I just happened to go, hey, Jindan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, what did I say? Jindan de uno, which means live 101 years, right?
Years.
All of a sudden, one of my friends hits me, goes, and I go, what's the matter? He goes, I go, what did I do? And everybody's looking. I said, what happened? And he goes, there were 3 guys. One was 94, one was 98, one was like 89. He goes, you can't say that. They're really close.
Yes.
So I had to say, I had to go, hey, senza fini, which means without end. So I said, here am I making a toast. I'm in a jam already.
You're in trouble.
I'm in trouble. Anyway, I don't know where I got off on that.
I want to share something. Every once in a while, something comes to our mind that we like to share with people.
Right.
But, wine played a big role in our lives back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll tell you one thing where wine was protective for us. What do I mean by that? Let's say we're all sitting down at a table.
Right.
And we're all talking, whatever. And somebody either realizes or remembers something about one of the people at the table. Maybe it wasn't that well known, whatever the circumstance could be, right?
Right.
So let's say I was doing, I remember something.
Right.
Well, I get up and I start pouring wine. I'll go like this, and I'll come to your glass, Chazz. I'll pour like that, and I'll come to the next guy, and I'll pour like that.
Oh.
And whenever I get to the guy that I'm leery of, here's how I'm doing it, this way.
Right.
Everybody's taking notice because they know the move.
They know the move.
And then we all know silence. Don't talk anymore.
Don't talk.
Something.
Little things like that.
Yeah. And you know how many times we applied that? Several times.
Yes, because what are you going to say? Like, hey, he's here now, be quiet.
Right.
Just a move like doing that.
Just the other way.
Just the other way means he's not a friend of ours.
That's right. Whatever the
He's
conversation
a friend, but not of ours.
cut it off. Cut the
Cut it off.
conversation.
Yeah.
So that's how you know wine
You
can
got
be
that?
helpful at times.
You got that from the boss right here. When you're with your friends and you don't trust somebody, you pour the wine
The
like
opposite
that.
way.
The opposite way.
Little tricks. So let's get into the book. This is
Okay.
A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl.
All right.
And his first lesson, and again, there are many, but we're only going to pick out a few. He says, our primary drive in life is not pleasure, but the pursuit of meaning. Frank argues that humans are not driven by pleasure seeking, but by a desire to find purpose and meaning in their lives.
Exactly right. I mean, what I think he's trying to say, and I read the book and I remember about it. Gratification, instant gratification is pleasure. That's pleasure. Instant gratification is pleasure. Meaning about life, meaning is something that takes time. It has to be like, it's like wine. The longer you have it, the better the wine ages. But pleasure is instant gratification. And anything that's instant gratification, what he's saying is, what I think he was saying is, if it's instant, it's not really beneficial to you. But if it takes time and you learn. Now, here's a guy who's in the Holocaust. People, I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like to be. I watch these films. I went to Dachau, and I sat on these hard benches when I was there. They were uncomfortable, And I just happened, I felt so stupid. And I just happened to turn to one of the guides, and I said, excuse me, I go, because we're about to watch the films that the Germans took.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, man, you guys should have made this a little more comfortable here. He goes, we didn't want you to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Chazz."
Exactly.
That's what he said. So it's not a movie theater. We don't want you to be comfortable in these things. And I just went, oh, I get it. I'm sorry. He says, no. It's okay. A lot of people say that. And I watch these films. I can't even talk about it. It's hard because of what the Germans took, a lot of what they took. It was just, you say, who are these people that they could do that to another human being? And who are these people that are taking it, and how could they stand it? How in God's name can you do that to another human being? And what they found was that, like Hitler, I don't know, we're going off on this, but Hitler just, if you tell people that these people are subhuman, then it's easy to do. Mm-hmm. They're not human, they're
Exactly.
insects. And that's what he was trying to do. And that's why they treated him like that. But for these people, for that gentleman to write this book, looking for the meaning in that, whoa. That's like what we always talked about. Rudolf Steiner always said, you got to go through the skin of the dragon. And anybody who went through the Holocaust really went through the skin of the dragon. I mean, that's like to see man's inhumanity to man is astounding. And for this man to write this book, it's a great book for those of you out there. Mm-hmm. It's a wonderful book. And after you read that, please don't complain that your Starbucks was cold. Yeah. Okay. After you read that, you realize, and I think what he was saying is too, that nothing is learned in the comfort zone. You learn from suffering.
And you know what, Chazz, in your industry especially, and you would know this more than me, but so many people, unfortunately, have committed suicide. And when you turn around and look at them, you think that they were on top of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, Robin Williams, sad story, such a brilliant actor, a comedian. You always looked at him as being a happy guy.
Yeah.
And you say to yourself, was he in the pursuit of pleasure? He didn't have meaning in his life? And you can say that, you can ask that question. I don't have the answer.
Yeah.
But what was it that they were seeking? Obviously, there was something missing.
There was something missing. Well, yes, there's something missing, but the thing that wasn't missing was mental illness. I knew Robin very well. Mm-hmm. I directed him in a movie, and I got to socialize with him for the past 20 years at different occasions. Mm-hmm. I would meet him at my friend's home where he would come a lot. And he was so funny and so great. But I did notice the last few years of his life, he changed. He was down. And I think I remember I took this photo of him and my son and me, of like, I don't remember, not too before he died. And you could see the sadness, and I knew something wasn't right. What really hurt him, and again, I can't say definite. I'm not part of his family. I didn't know him like that close. But I think when he got diagnosed with Parkinson's, he just said, no, I'm not going to be walking around like this. And he checked out, whatever. But
let me ask you this. In your industry, the perception is that people have money, they have celebrity, they have fame. Is that something that you think they're seeking? Is it pleasure that they're looking for in their life? And is it not real meaning to their lives?
Right.
Because Chazz, I've been in some tough situations in my life where, honestly, when I was in a hole, there's times I wanted to close my eyes and not wake up. I said,
Absolutely.
If this is going to be this for the rest of my life,
I don't know how
what do I need it for?
I don't know how you did that.
But I never contemplated suicide.
Right.
And what he's saying is, people that look for pleasure in their life are really missing what the meaning of their life is. And do you think that's something that can really cause you to go off track in a way?
What causes you to go off, Michael, is that people think that the pleasure of life, money, fame, adoration, success, adulation, is going to make you happy. And it doesn't. Mm-hmm. I don't care what anybody says, folks. It doesn't. What makes you happy is what the man is saying, is finding meaning in your life. Money and fame and all that stuff, those are tools to make you comfortable, but it doesn't make you happy. Two separate things. Pleasure is instant gratification. Happiness is meaning. That's a different thing.
I think I was guilty of that at one point in time.
Me too.
When I was part of that life. I was looking for pleasure.
Yes.
I had a jet plane, a helicopter, I had money.
But you thought it was happiness.
I thought it was happiness.
Correct.
I was pleasure seeking. And how was I getting that pleasure? By making money.
Yes.
And by achieving status in my life. But then when it all crashed and came down on me, I said, it was all wrong. And now I feel I really have a purpose and a meaning in my life, as you do. You know, we have families, we have a career, we have God in our lives.
And that's why we do this, because we give back.
Yes.
Yes. And we want people, nothing I love more is when a young person says to me, I saw your podcast and I want to thank you because I learned something from that. I go, great.
So what people need to understand, I think what this author was trying to say is, pleasure is a byproduct of finding the true meaning in your life. If you find what your purpose is, what your meaning is in life, you're going to get pleasure out of that and whatever comes around for that. So don't seek pleasure, because that's a pitfall. It's a danger. Seek meaning and purpose in your life, and the pleasure will follow.
No question. And we're going to end it with just remember that pleasure, money, fame, again, adulation, being a hero, being famous, all of that is outside. Meaning comes from the inside. That's the difference. All of that is outside juice, and that juice can be taken away at any minute. But inside, with this man's, I'm sorry, the writer's name? Frankel. What he's saying is, he's telling the Germans, you could take away all my outside, but you can't take away my inside. I will be here till the end. And that's what matters. You could take away my food, my money, my possessions. You could even take my mother, my father. You could take away my children, but you can't take away what's here. And that's my meaning. And that's why he wrote this book. Well, this has been great, Michael. So I want to remind our viewers to like and subscribe. Push that subscribe button.
And if you have any suggestions, any books, any people that you admire, that you trust, send it to us in the comments. We'll read them, and we'll be glad to comment ourselves.
All right. I'm Chazz Palminteri,
The Wise, and I'm Michael Franzese,
the wise guy.
See you next time.